I invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have a full agenda tonight, and first item on the agenda is welcoming our new board member, our newest board member, Carrie Whitaker. So, Carrie, we'd like to say a few words and stay within 45 minutes.
I'd just like to say thank you very much to the community. Appreciate the support, and looking forward to the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Great. Good to have you, Carrie. Yeah. Our next item are the election of school board officers, and I'm just going to run down the process here for everybody. If I get back to it. These are the guidelines. So there are 4 positions that we'll be electing tonight: president, vice president, treasurer, and clerk. There are, for each of these 3, calls for nominations, and more than one person can be nominated at any given time, but we did get clarification after last year that one board member may nominate only one other person. A second is not necessary in these nominations. If only one person is nominated, a unanimous voice vote for that person is cast, and the person is declared elected. B, if more than one person is nominated, voting should be by secret ballot, a prepared slip of paper, not by show of hands, voice vote, or roll call. C, a majority of the ballots cast will determine who is elected, and more than half the votes cast is necessary for appointment. An example of that would be 4 votes for person A, 1 vote for person B, 2 votes for person C. The winner would be the person with 4 votes. Results of a ballot should only identify the winner and not who received how many votes. I'm going to make a comment before we get to the first election. I've chosen not to leave my name open for nomination. I've served in this position now for 2 years. I feel like it's been an enjoyable experience. I've learned a great deal. I think we have a number of good board members here who are leaders, and I think it's time to allow other leaders to step forward. So with that, I will not have my name up for a nomination for this position of president. So with that, I'll call for a nomination for president.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Jamie Johnson for president.
Okay. Nomination for Jamie Johnson. Is there another nomination? Second call.
Mr. President, I'd
Yes.
like to nominate Brian Bell.
Okay, there's a nomination for Brian Bell. Third call, is there a nomination for president? Okay, hearing none, we've got 2 nominees, Brian Bell and Jamie Johnson. I'm going to ask if Tim Miner and Diane Radel and Tim Erickson are going to serve as tellers. For this, we'll vote by secret ballot. Okay, we could just return those to Tim. Okay, while we're waiting for those votes, I think Mary has a joke she'd like to tell us. Somebody could sing.
a little louder.
We have an election, Tim.
Okay, the majority of voted, the majority of votes were cast for Jamie Johnson for president.
Okay, congratulations, Jamie. And at this point, I'm going to switch places with Jamie and allow him to step into this position. And so, more awkward time.
Okay. Well, first I want to start off by thanking Tom Holland for his service. I know that there's been a lot going on in the district in the last 2 years, and really appreciate the leadership that he's given. So thank you, Tom. Next on the elections will be the position of vice president, and we'll open it up for nominations for vice president of the school board.
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Brian Bell for vice president.
Okay, Brian Bell is nominated. Second call for nominations. Third call for nominations. Okay, not hearing any, I close the nominations for vice president. And at this time, we would have a ballot all in favor of electing Brian Bell vice president. Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Brian Bell, congratulations, you're the new vice president. Next, we are going to elect a clerk, and that was Brian's previous position. And so you're not eligible now, Brian, now that you're vice president. So I'm sure you're very glad for that fact, but I will open it up for nominations for clerk of the school board.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Tom Holland as clerk.
Tom Holland is nominated. Is there any other nominations?
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Lynn Robson as clerk.
Okay. Lynn Robson is nominated for clerk. Is there any further nominations? I consider that the second call for nominations, and now third call for nominations. Any further nominations? Then I declare the nominations closed for the position of clerk of the school board, and we'll now have our ballots passed out. Again, the candidates are Lynn Robson or Tom Holland.
Thank you.
I wish we could multitask here, where we could get into some of the recognitions in between these elections. Yeah. I guess I left my water over there, maybe.
Oh.
I'll trade you.
See, there's some backwash in that one. Thank you. This one's clean. That's right, no backwash.
The majority of votes were cast for Tom Holland.
Okay. Tom Holland will be the clerk for the 2014-15 school year. Congratulations, Tom. And now we move to treasurer of the school board. And I will now open nominations for treasurer.
Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Lynn Robson for treasurer.
Okay. Lynn Robson has been nominated treasurer. Is there any further nominations? That was the second call. Is there any further nominations for treasurer of school board? Hearing none, close the nominations, and we'll now cast a voice vote for all those in favor of electing Lynn Robson treasurer. Say aye.
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 Those opposed, and Lynn is now our treasurer. All right. Moving on to the agenda then, and I would pass the presentation over to Sandy for our multiple recognitions we have tonight.
Yes, thank you. We'll begin with a highlight with our middle school team. Our Hudson Middle School will have Chris DeLeon, the advisor, a tech ed teacher at the middle school, and our 2 students, if they both come up too, Katie and Shayla, if you'll all come up to the front. This team submitted a proposal to the National Siemens We Can Change the World Challenge, and they received 3rd place nationally. Quite the honor. So I'm not even going to steal any more thunder than that. I'm going to let them describe their proposal and what they did throughout the year to earn this award.
We created a way to get...
I need you to come even closer to the mic.
We tried to come up with a way to get medications out of our water systems.
So we raised awareness of the medication drop box at the police department.
And we try to get more people to drop their medications off so they don't get your drinking water.
We hung up posters in some businesses around town and also handed out flyers, like left stacks of flyers in other businesses as well.
The week we advertised, we had a 423% increase in the medications dropped off downtown.
And what I recall reading in your proposal is that's what you ended with. Talk about some of the things you tried along the way, because I thought those were very interesting. Some of the things you thought, oh, this is what we'll do, and then you found out, nope, can't do that.
Yeah, at first we were going to try to install a drop box in Targets around the U.S., but we weren't allowed to do that because of some laws.
We also tried a mailing system where people could mail their unused medications in to the police department, but that was also illegal.
And we also tried to have, like, there's some drop-off collection days that they have. We were trying to have more of those, but the police department didn't have enough time to make room for some more of those.
Mm-hmm. So you tried several creative, innovative ideas, but found out sometimes laws and other things get in the way, don't they? And so tell us about the 3rd place award. What kind of recognition or what do you have? What did you receive as a result of the 3rd place award?
We received a $5,000 savings bond, a tablet, $1,000 grant for the school, and a backpack with some stuff inside.
And can you share anything else about just, when did you start the whole process? How far back in the school year?
To be, like, I think September it was.
Okay, so it's been pretty much the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Mr. De Leon, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just like to add how proud I am of the girls and their hard work and dedication. What they didn't mention is the time they put into it, working during lunch, working during their free time at home. With parents can attest to that. All the edits that we had to do and the quality of work that I saw come from these 2 was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand this is a national challenge, is that correct?
Correct.
So do you know, were there any other Wisconsin teams that placed, or?
Not that we know of.
Okay.
They're the
And
only ones.
do you have some idea of how many entrants there were in there?
When I spoke to the representative from the Siemens Foundation, she said hundreds, so she didn't have an exact number.
Excellent. Well, congratulations, girls. Great job, and thank you for representing Hudson.
Quick
Bruce, you've
question.
got-
Yeah, well, first of all, congrats. I think it's phenomenal, and there's no better way to learn than just to jump in and do it. So congrats for putting yourself out there. Just quick question, how far down the path did you get before you found out that some of these things were illegal?
Well, we didn't come up with our final idea till like beginning of February. So we had our idea for Target was in September or October, sometime in there, and then we just kept moving on and we couldn't do them.
And did you learn that from representatives at Target, or so you were making phone calls and?
Yeah, we spoke to the manager at Target, and then we also spoke to a sergeant at the police department.
Awesome. Good work.
Any other comments from the board? All right. Well, again, thank you, and great job in getting out there and doing it. Like Bruce said, this is showing extra effort on your part, and that's how we change the world, is making those kind of extra efforts. So thank you. Congratulations.
Next, we'll invite our DECA team and their advisor, Dustin Miller, to the front. This team also competed internationally, so I'll let them introduce themselves, but they attended the 2014 DECA State Career Development Conference in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin this past March, and then all 4 were state finalists and earned the opportunity to attend and compete in the international conference, which was in Atlanta in early May. So I think they just actually came back last week. Yes. So this is very recent news. So, Mr. Miller, you maybe want to give a little summary, and I know then they're going to speak to this as well.
Yeah, first of all, DECA is an organization that prepares emerging leaders in marketing, entrepreneurship, and finance, and hospitality also. Thank you. And these 3 young men, they went to state. There were 4 boys that went to state, and all 4 of them were finalists, and they all earned a spot at the international conference in Atlanta. There were 17,000 participants there. There we learned that there's a little over 200,000 high school DECA members internationally, and Wisconsin has about 10,000. So, and Wisconsin took about 500 students. So I'll just let them tell you about their experience.
And also, if you could introduce yourselves as well.
Is that good enough? Okay.
Yeah, you can move it up to the line.
Okay, all right.
Maybe.
Right there? All right. Well, my name is Skylar Palios, and I competed in restaurant and food service management category. And next year I'll be going to Eau Claire for business administration in a pre-law track as well. And you know, a few things that I learned from not only the conference, but just being in DECA is, you know, self-confidence. You know, before DECA, I couldn't really do this at all and talk to a bunch of new strangers or anything like that. So I'll hand it over to Mobata.
Hello, I'm Mobata. I will be the new upcoming president for this upcoming year. I am a junior at the Hudson High School. I hope to go to, I know I will go to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill when I graduate, or University of Wisconsin-Madison. It's also a great university. All right, just rankings and stuff get in the way. I competed in the business finance category. Last year, I actually only made it to state, and I played 7th, one away from getting into internationals. I said I was going to get to internationals, and I made it there this year. Competed finally in Atlanta. You know, one thing I can really take away from DECA is intrinsic motivation. You know, I wasn't really doing it for some sort of grade or just some point value. I was doing it for myself, for self-enrichment. And I think that's what really counts, and that's where value can really be made. Thank you for your time, and thank you for funding DECA.
Hello, my name is Ethan Lowe. I'm a sophomore at the high school, and I will be next year's vice president. And my category was principles of marketing. And what I learned from that was I learned how to present my ideas in a professional manner, and just how to hold myself in front of professionals and that kind of stuff. Thanks.
Some things that we did at this conference was, first of all, we competed. We did a 100 question career cluster exam, and being in restaurant food service, I did hospitality, and Mo did finance, and he did principles is more for just freshmen, sophomores, just starting out, so he did kind of a all-inclusive exam. And then you do 2 role plays where you're giving a situation, and you have 10 minutes to plan, 10 minutes to prep and fix the problem and present it in front of a judge, and then they score you based on performance indicators, what certain things that you have to touch on. And we also attended some meetings in Atlanta that, you know, we heard Fran Tarkenton. He spoke at the overall conference, and he gave his input on his, you know, entrepreneurship and his, you know, life goals and how he what's the word? Persevered. How he persevered through his trials and tribulations. So that was what I thought was pretty cool. And then we also had some fun. We networked with not only kids from Wisconsin, but kids from, you know, Rhode Island, Vermont, Georgia. All 50 states attend, as well as Canada, and China was there for the first year this year too. And then we also, went to a Braves game, and we went on a big Ferris wheel. So while we were bettering ourselves, we also had some fun as well. So I would like to thank the board for their support, and thank you.
Any questions or comments from board members? Okay, well, I know that you guys did a lot of preparation as well for this, and it's a year-round organization. We have next year's officers here, but I'm glad that you had the opportunity to be able to go to international and you have definite goals now to go back. I don't know if you'll switch areas or stay in the areas you're intending to go, but, and Mr. Bata, I hope you think strong about not going to North Carolina, going to Wisconsin instead.
It's a toss-up right now, sir. We'll see.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have a staff recognition, so I'll ask Melissa Hanson to step forward. And Melissa has been selected as the Outstanding Career and Technical Education Leader. And this award's given annually in recognition of contributions made to career and technical education. And my understanding is it's often given to someone at more the college or higher ed level, not very often in a K-12. So we feel very honored to have Melissa in our system. And as you know, lots of great things happening in the area of CTE in Hudson. So she's a few of the things that were pointed out in her application and the award were the staff development that she offers to career and technical ed, obviously her understanding of the Wisconsin developmental guidance model and the standards, also her work with just disciplinary literacy in DCE, and again, just the overall support to our CTE department, the expansion of articulated credits and opportunities for students. So Melissa, if you want to talk a little bit, there's more to say about the award, or it was she knew she had been nominated, but did not know until that day that she was selected. It was kind of a unique way of announcing.
Yes, there were 4 finalists in the category, and each of us were asked to come on stage. And it wasn't until the time when they actually described, with all of the letters that I had that were submitted on my behalf, that I knew it was me. So I was a little bit shocked at that point, but I truly was very humbled and honored. And I feel that it is a reflection of all of the work that is done in Hudson with our just amazing community and staff that we have here. So I applaud everyone for that. And not many people can say that they truly love going to work every day. And I am very, very grateful that I have that opportunity to really fuel that passion and my purpose and really help students to find theirs. So thank you.
And I would add that she is one that's very focused on students, highly focused on students, and trying to create opportunities for all the students in our system. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, Melissa, you sat down so fast we didn't get a chance if there's any board members that wanted to say any further comments or questions. I mean, I just wanted to say, I know in acting as a volunteer at the high school, you do a lot of coordination there with between the Reality Store project and then this year with Junior Achievement. I mean, those were awesome events, and getting our students ready for what's beyond high school, whether that's college, technical school, or just straight into careers. It's really important. Thank you for all the work you do.
Thank you.
You still got 2 more to go, Sandy. So.
Yeah, I know, we're on a roll. Melissa, why don't you come back up, because I know you did the nomination here. So we're very excited to announce, Tony Evers announced that there were 8 business and industry partnerships as 2014 Business Friends of Education, and our very own Wisconsin Credit Union of Hudson was awarded one of those 8 spots. So just a little bit about what they do, am I going to steal Jim's thunder if I just do a little bit of that? No, okay. But some of you may recognize that they have employed Hudson students as youth apprentices throughout their 5-year partnership, And the branch vice president, Chuck, has demonstrated even further commitment to strengthening youth apprenticeship programs by serving on the Regional Youth Apprenticeship Steering Committee. And beyond that, they also have student experiences in the classroom setting. Employees come in and share their real-world know-how. And then they also have employees that serve as judges, looking at students' projects. And then obviously they have the employees, the student employees, as far as the bank connection as well, right there in the high school. So just a great partnership we have with Wisconsin Credit Union. With us this evening is Jim Wookey, so we'll let Jim say a few words as well.
Thank you very much. Chuck couldn't be here tonight, but this is just, we believe in helping our members achieve financial success, and that starts with the youth, and it's just been a great partnership. So Melissa's been awesome to work with, and we have our credit union in the high school that we firmly believe in financial education, so it starts there. But I just want to thank the board. I want to thank the high school for allowing us to be there and to be a part of this program. So we're very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to comment that I'm aware of Wisconsin Credit Union and their involvement in the community, not only with the school, but in a number of other community organizations. And so I just want to express my appreciation to Jim and to the credit union for their involvement. I mean, that's really what, from my view, my perspective as an administrator in a nonprofit, those organizations really make our work so much better, so much easier, I think. And so I just want to thank you for that.
You're
and
welcome.
the Wisconsin Credit Union.
Anyone else? I also want to express, though, thanks for being involved, because even though we do have great teachers, we have strong administration, and we have strong families in this community, it does take that fourth pillar of business support, and that's where we see in a lot of the successful school districts is the partnerships developed with businesses. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We really do.
And
Last but not least,
we'll ask Ann Mitchell, principal at Holton, to step forward. They have been recognized for their achievements and will be awarded Sugar Maple Certification for Green and Healthy Schools, Wisconsin. And they'll now also be certified as Project Learning Tree Green School, which will give them some opportunities for additional grant funding and professional development. So, Ann, I know you have a few of your staff and a parent, I believe, with you this evening to describe some of the work that you're doing.
Actually, a grandparent.
Good.
You've heard us talk about our outdoor learning space before, and outdoor learning space, I think, is one component of that whole Green and Healthy Schools initiative. The Green and Healthy Schools initiative is recognizing achievement in up to 9 areas, and Holton, once we submitted the application, and it's been a 4-year effort to try to get that all put together, was recognized in all 9 areas. We're not quite the United States Department of Education Green Ribbon School, but we're about as close as you can get working with the DNR certification in Wisconsin. The person that really is instrumental in most of our efforts is Sandy Matson, our Master Gardener, and I want to make sure to recognize her. There seems to be a common theme of the community support, and this Green and Healthy School certification was a web of support. In fact, the people that reviewed our application used that phrase, you certainly have a web of support there. Sandy actually recruited 2 more Master Gardeners that are regulars at Holton now, Julie Weinberg and Donna Davis. And then she also brings in a whole crew sometimes during the summer to support the families that volunteer in our gardens, despite broken retaining walls and wood chips and all those things. Tim and Lisa are 2 4th grade teachers, and they'll tell you just a little bit about what 4th graders do with our Master Gardener.
One of the most wonderful things that we have is our Thursday Garden Club, and it provides an opportunity for the kids to sign up and use their noon recess to go out and work in the garden. And it's wonderful because you see kids that go through the day, and you might not tap into one of their interests, and then all of a sudden these are the kids that are out there volunteering in the garden, raking leaves, planting things. So it's just terrific to see them have that opportunity.
And then our 4th grade garden is based on our Native American unit. So we plant the 3 sisters, which is corn, beans, and squash, and then they get to see that when they come back to school in the fall. And Tim and I would like to say on behalf of all the teachers that Sandy, she's phenomenal, and the time she spends with the kids, and the kids love it. So thank you.
Sandy's really at the core, but I want to list a few other people that are really instrumental in those 9 areas. The district energy audit that we did a few years ago kind of was a starting point for us to data mine some of the things that we were doing energy-wise and water conservation-wise. Our custodial staff, Blair Gunderson, is phenomenal about making sure we have the most water-efficient toilets and the lights are off, and almost to a detail that we can't keep up. Student leadership, the R3 Squad, Hawk Crew, Garden Club, and Recess Committee all contribute to our outdoor space. 5th graders restore the prairie. Every year they're working on it, and thanks to St. Joe Township for burning it every 3 years for us. Family fun and fitness, the recycling of paper. I've got paper in my car now that I have to drop at the container. Composting and worm composting in kindergarten. Jen Havens, our former St. Croix County recycling coordinator, got that going in the district. I'm looking for one. Nutrition services. Peggy Eller and Christy Faust have been amazing in taking the garden produce, trying new recipes, and then putting out healthy recipes for the kids to choose, and then trying one out in May. We're going to have mozzarella baked bites this May. A rain garden, which was a master garden project with the 5th graders. Those are just some of the things that we've had real community-wide support for what we're trying to get done at Holton. So thank you.
Well, I know we've got good representation on the board here of Holton parents, but yeah, on behalf of, anybody else want to make any comments on that one? But again, I thank you for all the team effort there and for the recognition, and particularly Sandy, I know you're volunteering your time and not in a paid position there, but we really appreciate the hours you put in. It really advances things for our students. So, all right, next we have the superintendent's report. Unless you had any more recognition, Sandy. I didn't see any more. All right, so save something for next time. Good. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations. There is a reoccurring theme this evening. It's student and staff success, supported by our community members and community partners. And I have more good news to share as well, that that theme continues on this evening, and it's certainly great to share information with you. So Hudson High School is very pleased to receive a generous grant from 3M. It's the 2014 3M Gives Ingenuity Grant. And again, it's of $20,000. And this grant recognizes high school teams working across grade levels in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math disciplines to spark student interest and achievement. The grant targets public high schools in 3M communities, and certainly we are one. 3M is one of our largest employers for many of our parents and certainly community members. We know 3M is a global leader in corporate giving, volunteerism, and community engagement. And in 2013, 3Mers earned the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Best Commitment to Education Award and the Excellence in Mentoring Award for Corporate Leadership, and also the United Way Spirit of America Award. So we can tell that their stewardship is strong, and certainly it's a great support in our community in many different ways. And this is another addition as they are giving funds to support STEM education to Hudson High School. And I'll ask Principal Peg Shoemaker to come forward and talk about how these funds will be used.
So we, as Mary said, we're thrilled to be able to receive these monies that we will support our new Career Academy teachers regarding doing interdisciplinary work in the area of STEM and creating these interdisciplinary inquiry units around the STEM theme, if you will. With these monies, it allows us to have summer curricular work. Our initial beginning of our career academy teams includes us visiting sites like Hudson Hospital, the technical colleges, as well as the 3M Innovation Center. So we are thrilled to be able to use this money for not only resources, but coveted professional learning to support our new career academies. Thank you.
So unless there's some questions, I'll move on to the next announcement that, again, is terrific, great news. And it's recognition of Hudson High School once again, and this is by the Washington Post. Hudson High School has been identified as America's most challenging high schools, and so ranked in this national list. And this list is made up of high schools throughout the country, in fact, 1,900 high schools, who have their students taking advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and advanced international certificate of education tests that are given once a year annually to seniors. And so they look at the scores that students receive as well, and passing scores, and then they also look at the number of families on free and reduced lunch. So it's wonderful to have Hudson recognized. We talk about high expectations for the performance of our students in HSD 2025, and this is recognition that Hudson High School staff and students are achieving that. And just thinking about where Hudson ranks, we oftentimes compare to other school districts. When we look at our local or more regional school districts and the high schools, there is only one other high school in the state of Wisconsin on this list, and that's Eau Claire Memorial. Hudson ranks higher on the list than Eau Claire, so proud of that, certainly, but it is the only other high school in this region. When we look at the high schools we use to benchmark against, we have two lists. One is the Wisconsin high-performing comparable size schools, and I know Sandy will be talking about those later on the WKCE. Those are Germantown, McGuanago, Menominee Falls, and Franklin, and none of those schools are on the list. If we look at the Wisconsin high-performing schools, and the size doesn't matter in this list, that's Whitefish Bay, Mequon-Thanesville, Elmbrook, Cedarburg, and Kettle Moraine. All of those schools are on the list and with Hudson. So certainly we've identified the right schools to continue to look at when we look at rigor at the high school level and the performance of our students. So congratulations to the high school, the staff, the students, and actually to all of our staff who have helped prepare these students to take this level of rigor and demonstrate their proficiency and their advancement. So congratulations, it's wonderful to be able to announce that. Should I keep moving? Keep going. Okay. So next, we have a thank you to, again, one of our community partners, and that's the Education Foundation of Hudson, who has once again awarded grants to our teachers and administrators. They have awarded 6 grants, and they run from $1,986 to $3,000 each, for a total of $15,451 to support Hudson students and staff and advancing our efforts in areas that we wouldn't be able to fund ourselves in the district. So really, we really appreciate these dollars, and they support innovation in our schools, and certainly we thank the Education Foundation for this contribution again to the Hudson School District as they continue to contribute to our efforts. And lastly, I just want to recognize the level of sharing our practices with others throughout the state. Susie Prather, principal at Hudson Prairie Elementary, and Dave Grambo, Systems Improvement Director, are leaving in a few minutes, I believe. to present at a state conference or workshop, WACD symposium, and they're going to be talking about educator effectiveness and supporting teachers in this new system, and really how those roles of instructional coaches and principals and district leadership can help support teacher work. And then I also want to recognize Tracy Havishaline, the District Community Services Coordinator, who has just come back from presenting at the Superintendent's Conference and the Wisconsin School Public Relations Association Spring Conference. And she shared practices that we have engaged our community in community conversations as we're talking about moving toward a referendum. So leading those community conversations, how to gain feedback from the community in practices like the World Cafe model that we've used just recently in January, using social media, and then the online surveys that we've used as well. So again, we appreciate these leaders sharing the Hudson practices with our colleagues throughout the state of Wisconsin. And that would be my report.
Any questions then for the superintendent? If not, then we'll move on to further reports, and I guess I turn it over to Sandy, and she's going to introduce our choir director and talk about the choir trip.
Correct. So we have 3 examples this evening of HSD 2025 in action. We're constantly looking for opportunities for our students in global literacy, challenging academics, critical thinking, and innovation, to name a few. And so tonight we'd like to highlight a few. And the first is a recent trip over spring break to Spain with the choir, large group. And so choral director Andy Hayes is here with a few students to share that experience.
Excellent, thank you. This past March marked the 4th international trip that the choral department has taken since my time here at Hudson High School. Our first trip was Costa Rica, East Central Europe, Italy, and then of course Spain just a few weeks ago. It was a phenomenal trip. The students performed and behaved extremely well. They were phenomenal ambassadors for the community, for Hudson, and quite frankly for the United States. I couldn't have been more proud of these students. I get a lot of questions from people in the community asking, why do these international trips? What's the point? Well, it's part of HSD 2025, and we're no longer just Hudson. There's a lot more out there. What I want my students to take away from this experience really is what they would find themselves in a college or collegiate setting. If they were to be in a band, orchestra, choir in the college level, if they were to tour internationally, that's just what they would do. They would go to these different countries, they would be immersed into the culture and with the people, and it really is a performance tour. We have 5 formal performances for each trip that we take. This past trip, we also had an exchange concert, which was quite the experience at the Scarlatti, Dominican Scarlatti High School, and we performed with the middle school. Obviously, concert etiquette was a little different there than it is here, but nonetheless, it was still a wonderful performance. And being able to obviously sing in places like that, the Basilica in Granada, some just incredible musical moments that myself, along with these students, will certainly never forget. So for that, I think the fact that the board supports these trips and the community supports these trips, but I thought you would rather hear from students and their experience from Spain. So I brought with me Ellen Snyder and Aaron Stein, both seniors.
Hello, I'm Ellen. Yeah, Spain was amazing, but just for a quick note, choir in general is pretty amazing. Like Mr. Hayes said, he tries to provide a really, almost like a collegiate, not almost, but a collegiate experience for us. And it's really nice to go, even though we're going to high school every day, it's nice to have that 1 hour of the day where you really feel like an adult and you're treated like an adult, and he expects respect, so we need to do that. And but on the trip, you could really see that everyone rose to the occasion, and we were really respectful and acted professional. That's a huge thing that Mr. Hayes emphasizes for us, is acting professional. And this was an experience of a lifetime, and just in a musical sense and just in life in general, whenever you have the opportunity to travel outside of our little community of Hudson, I think people sometimes forget that there's more out there than just our little Hudson, but yeah, it was a great opportunity.
Hello, I'm Aaron. I think these guys summed it up pretty well, but the only thing I want to add is the difference in cultures I really noticed. One of the things that really stuck out to us as a performance, or people who performed, was the gratitude of the audience. They really appreciated what we did and the time we took to really learn the music and perform it, not only professionally, but also without any music in front of us. It was all memorized, very professional, as Ellen said. So they were very grateful for that and grateful to see international entertainment. So it was a great opportunity. Thank you.
Just to go along with those performances, just so that you know, every performance we did in Spain was a packed house, which was a wonderful tribute to the tour company that we use to really to make sure that we have an audience member to perform with, which makes it that much more gratifying. So again, kudos to Accolades Travel, who we've used in the past. They do a phenomenal job of providing these educational opportunities for our students.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Mike Knox and Vicki come on up to talk about the German student exchange visit, and I know there's a couple students out there as well. Last summer, we had students travel with both Mr. Knox and Mrs. McLaughlin over to Germany, and they've established a sister school. And now recently, students from Germany, as well as some teachers, staff there, came over to Hudson, and so they want to share that experience. And I'm going to pass off the clicker to Mike here.
Thank you, and I'll also introduce, we have Callie Aline and Connor McGill, two seniors from our group. And I'm going to end up putting them on the spot from time to time. We didn't have a chance to practice our presentation, so I appreciate their spontaneity and enthusiasm. This is the first exchange we have had of this type. In the past, the German department has done more of a travel tour, and this is a partner exchange. If you would like to refer to it as a sister school, they prefer to call it a partner exchange and be gender neutral. But Hans Seidel Gymnasium is the school. Oh, okay. Okay, so Hans Seidel Gymnasium in Hörsbach, Lower Franconia, Bavaria, Germany. It's about 30 minutes from Frankfurt, which is similar to our location from the Twin Cities. It's mainly an urban area, but there is a lot of countryside and farmland around as well. This school has a science emphasis curriculum. There are other schools in the area that may focus on arts or other academics, but this has a science focus. So again, similar in size to Hudson School District or Hudson High School, and in terms of geography, kind of similar to our area. The exchange itself is a 3-week family stay, so when we throw out the term immersion, we truly mean that this is an immersion experience. Students stay with a family for 3 weeks. They've had a chance in the year advance or leading up to that to get to know their partner a little bit, but they'll spend the entire time in someone else's home, getting to know the family, getting to know the culture, first-hand experience. They do attend school each day with their partner, and their school allowed for 3 excursions with us. While we were there, we also presented our culture to them, whether it's about Hudson or question and answer with younger students and the like. Their group was, when we went over there, 9th graders had their 5th year of English while we were there, and our group was a group of 9th through 11th graders, anywhere ranging from 2 years or more of German. Any thoughts about the exchange?
I have some about the exchange
Yeah,
program.
please.
So I went on this trip as well as the Scotland and Ireland trip last spring break, not this year's, but the year before. And they were both great experiences. I got totally different things out of both of them. The Scotland-Ireland trip was much more historical based. We didn't learn so much about daily life, which is, I valued knowing about like the history of the area and getting to know current events also. But our exchange program in Germany was very different in that we got to understand daily life. I understand the culture in Germany a lot more now and got to build lasting friendships with people in Germany. My host family I'm incredibly close to now. I've hosted other students before, but I've never gone on an exchange, and it was a wonderful experience, and I feel like I got a lot out of it, both personally and educationally.
Yeah, going off what Callie said, it was a lot to learn. You can only learn so much like in a classroom. Like I've been in German for 5 years, and you don't really understand as much. Like you can watch a video, you can watch people talk, you can show pictures. But when I really went over there, I saw and learned so much more than I ever thought I ever would about the culture. Like I went to school with them. I understand so much about how that works. I understand daily life, all food and stuff. They eat more than like brats and like schnitzel, you know what I mean? And so yeah, I learned way more than I ever thought I would. It was a totally great experience. Yeah.
I had a question for the students. Does this experience make it more likely that you might consider like a longer exchange before college, or doing some kind of study abroad once you get to college?
I definitely want to do a study abroad program when I was in college. I actually applied to an international high school last year. So I've always been interested in other cultures, but I feel like this exchange even expanded that for me. I'm definitely interested in going back. I've already been talking with my family, telling them they should come here and visit us again, and hoping that I can go back too. So it's definitely widened my horizons even more and given me more plans and ideas for the future.
Yeah, same here. I'm before that I was thinking about studying abroad, but now I'm pretty sure if I don't, I'll be pretty upset. So I'm gonna do that for sure. Hopefully in Germany, or and like maybe honestly it even opened up my eyes so much that like maybe I'd even move there like in the future if like opportunity came up. So yeah.
And speaking on behalf of a few of the students who couldn't make it tonight, there has been a large jump in applications for exchange programs like the Congress Bundestag, which is part of Youth for Understanding, or there's a relationship there. So the awareness of the travel opportunity and the exchange opportunity has increased a lot. And I think a lot of it has to do with an exchange program rather than what we have done in the past. So during our school day, or in der Schule, while we were there, we observed lessons with our partners. We also presented to their basically middle school ages. Miss McLaughlin also taught a science lesson. While there, I'll give her a moment to describe that. But while we were there, we also had a little bit of a specific instruction from some of their teachers. Herr Helfrich was one of their history teachers, and he gave us an interesting east-west lesson from East Germany, West Germany, which, speaking from personal experience, I thought that was very exciting, very interesting to see his experiences crossing the border. And that's something that I think a lot of our students don't have a chance to hear, even in regular lesson anymore. It's kind of become the past that we don't learn about so much anymore. But if Miss McLaughlin could describe a little bit about the lessons.
Hello. Yeah, while I was over there, I had the opportunity to teach a physics course to some 7th graders, and it was a lot of fun for me. They were very attentive, and they wanted to answer all of the questions. So it was very cute to see that age versus what I normally teach. But it was additionally nice for the teachers. They were so accommodating, and they showed us the differences between what we do in science here, what they have in there. We have a lot in common. The order we do things is different, and I'm looking forward to working with them more and being able to see what I can get from that to integrate into our new STEM Academy and everything. So I'm looking forward to a partnership with them. So.
When we got there, they gave us a nice welcome party. This is a chance for our students to get to know them before we separate with our families. And I don't know if there's anything to show other than lovely pictures. But, as Callie mentioned, the relationship students built before getting there was interesting, but to see how close students got while there was really it's very impactful for me as a teacher. Also seeing how close our students got to each other during the exchange was really wonderful to see. Not just getting to know our partner school, but getting to know ourselves a little bit. And I thought that was, as a parent and a teacher, that was wonderful to see. Any comments on the fine cuisine? Eh? Okay, we'll move along. They gave us 3 excursions. First off, we did do an evening tour to Frankfurt. Frankfurt has the only skyline in Germany. Europe itself is not known for skylines, but students got to go to Frankfurt, see some amazingly modern architecture and sculptures, as well as a mile-long shopping center. We also traveled to Nuremberg. These were excursions provided by their school during the school day, so as part of a travel lesson, if you will. One of the more touristy towns in Europe, Rothenburg ob der Tauber, which is a medieval city that has survived Europe's wars and still stands today. We also made it to Heidelberg, and more of a cultural center, so students had a chance to see business, history, modern culture, as well as older. While we were here, I'll try and pick up the pace, we offered a welcome reception party that only Americans would understand, pie tasting. Pie is not it's an American institution. It's not a German thing. So our welcome party included pie for all the German students. We also offered 3 excursions for them. One day we hit the Minnesota Capitol, which if you've ever been into the bottom, into the basement, they have a Ratskeller, which is a sort of advisory or counselor's area. Back, I'm not sure how long ago it was used in that sense, but if you've ever been down there, you'll see there's a lot of German slogans and German terms on the wall. It was a chance to show our guests that not only do we learn German here because it is still a very viable language, but it's because it's part of our history and culture, and we still feel very close to it. We also hit the Minnesota History Museum, and to recognize that we are in Wisconsin, the University of River Falls gave us a tour of the cheese plant and their lab farm. Germans also presented home culture to our students, including Goethe's Faust, if you're familiar with the epic story. If not, would recommend it. It's the German version of any Shakespeare story. Day in the life as a Hudson High School student, where I would like to thank officially all the high school teachers who gave up their prep period, gave up some of their time to give our guests the experience of an American student, of bell to bell, 8 periods, 1 class after the next, getting through this building that we have, navigating their day. It was interesting to see, interesting to hear the feedback they have, which we'll share a little bit at the end. Also, like to thank the elementary school principals for clearing parts of their schedule to allow our German guests to come and present and interact with each of the elementary schools. They presented at the schools and interacted with them on things like Earth Day. And then Ms. McLaughlin also taught another lab while we were here. So, just a few pictures. And to follow up, German observations. American students are busier with jobs and after-school activities. Hudson School District students are all artistic, and everyone can sing. This is from a school with a science emphasis. Hudson School District students know more about their peers. Direct reflection of how our students are not tied to one track while in school, and how we have the flexibility of schedule where Germans typically stay with one group in one room and the teachers come to them. A much larger sense of community is what I got out of that. Our students also have more of a rapport with teachers, is something that they noticed. But the biggest was they love Wi-Fi. And we have Wi-Fi. So. Anything else to follow up from you guys?
I just have one observation. Another thing I noticed that I thought was really interesting and was very positive about Hudson School District was, even though that the school we went to was a math and science-based school, they were learning a lot of the same stuff that I learned when I was in those grades at the same time that we were. So I thought that was really cool, like across the world in a school that's based very different than Hudson School District. We were still learning a lot of the same things, and I thought that was a very interesting thing that I noticed personally.
Good observation.
Yeah.
Any other comments from any of the
Mr.
board
President,
members?
I just am curious about these observations from these German students. I mean, the fact that they noted that students here are busier with jobs. Does that mean that German students are less busier with jobs, or less activities, less artistic? None of them can sing?
None of the students that I knew had jobs while they were in high school. Also, homework was a very less common thing. I kind of felt bad when my German student came here. I had homework for a couple hours a night, but when I went there, she really might study for a test for half an hour, and that was really it for her homework for a night. So they definitely keep their schoolwork focused in school, except for like their studying. So they have more time open like that, but also it was much less common to have jobs and things like that. So they have more time for their own activities like singing if they want to.
Thank you.
Mr. President, a comment that you just made would lead me to a question. Are their school days longer then, that they don't have the homework, they get it all done during the day, so that do they have a longer time period when they're in school during the day?
Yeah, it's not like our schedule every day, like I have 8 hours. They had each day they'd have so few lessons, like on Monday they'd have like 3 or 4 lessons, and maybe Tuesday they'd have 3 or 4, and then like one day out of the 5 days a week they'd probably have like a long day, and then the other days they'd have like shorter lessons. Like they wouldn't have every class every day, they'd have like bio or chem like every other day or so. It's not every day for them, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah.
And their class periods were longer too, right? Yeah. Their class periods were also longer, so they had, because they weren't doing every class every single day, they had more time in that one class to ask the teacher for help, and then also get all their homework done during the single class period, because they did have more time because they were focusing on fewer subjects per day.
Mr. President, just a quick question to the students. And, we hear about, foreign country and advancements in education in foreign countries, things like that. Do you have any opinion about the comparison of the education system in Germany compared to what you're receiving and what you're seeing here in Hudson?
Sort of like I noted earlier, they were basically, when we were there, my student was basically a freshman to like our schools here, and she was learning the same things I was learning my freshman year in my chemistry and physics classes. So like at that level, I thought we were very similar. Their language-based programs, I felt like were a lot more advanced, because like if you're in Europe, you can drive 4 hours away, and instead of being in Madison, you're in a totally different country that speaks different languages. So my student not only spoke German, but excellent English and some French as well. So there's also a greater emphasis, I think, on foreign language. But science and math-wise, I thought, and our arts program is very advanced compared to theirs, but their focus really wasn't on that.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Well, thank you very much for that report.
And our last HSD in action will have Ann Mitchell and Susie Prather, elementary principals who have been leading this effort in developing integrated units. As we were working on our focus, obviously at the elementary, is in the areas of literacy and math. And as we kept working on how are we going to ensure that students still have science and social studies, health, our other subject areas, they came and with the concept of integrated units. And again, you'll hear some connections to HSD 2025 that just make this very wonderful. So Anna, you're going to start?
Sure. There's a real connection to what Peg had mentioned earlier about the project-based learning and the inquiry that's happening at the high school, and we're very excited about what's happening at the elementary schools in support of that, as we can anticipate them moving on. The team that plans these sessions for now it's 2nd through 5th grade is a collaborative effort of Nancy Dressel, our instructional technology coach, and Susie Prather and Lori Beging, an instructional coach, to make sure that the practices are supported when the teachers try to shift their own practice. And you'll hear more about that from Tim and Lisa, 4th grade teachers who have implemented 3 units this year and kind of grappled with it. They'll share a little bit of the struggle and some of the joys of it. You're clicking? The 3 questions that we actually edited this and then found out that you had the old version, but you just need to look at the first 3 questions. What's the unit? What's an integrated unit of inquiry? What are the benefits of inquiry? And how can those units promote and support HSD 2025? The words I want you to focus on this one, you know the vision very well, HST 2025, but the last statement, not the question, the last statement, challenging students to become informed, caring contributors, is really where I want to focus your attention, because I think that's what the integrated units of inquiry do so well. When students have been through what we anticipate to be the 4 years, 2nd through 5th grade, of these integrated units of inquiry, we think they will be in a much better position to be informed, caring contributors, and we'll talk more about that in a minute.
When you hear the idea of an integrated unit of inquiry, what it really is a 6-week study where kids really explore questions, and they have both teacher questions that we call guiding questions, and they have student questions that they're really interested in grappling with. Kids have time to really dig deep and research those questions and really understand that content at a deeper level. During these integrated units of inquiry, they can look at multiple perspectives of different issues, and they apply their learning to authentic situations, and we'll share an example later with that. The other piece, when we're looking at integrated units of inquiry, we want our students to share their learning and take action with their learning with an authentic audience. So you'll start to see some of our 2nd through 5th graders coming in the community and sharing some of the learning with their units. When we talk about inquiry, as Anne had mentioned before, we talk about 4 stages of inquiry. The first stage that we talk about is immerse. One of our teachers explained it as really swimming in the content, really kind of digging deep, exploring the content, and really asking questions. We really want our students to be curious learners and always asking questions. The investigate stage is where we're answering both our student questions and our teacher questions that are aligned with standards that we have. And during that stage, we're asking questions, we're researching, we're investigating, and then we always kind of circle around to the coalesce stage. And the coalesce is when we're developing an understanding of the content. So we kind of spin around in that investigate, coalesce stage. And one of the most important pieces is the go public piece. It's how we're going to share our learning, how we're going to take our learning and take action, kind of like the middle school students had done in making the world a better place. So really, how are they going to use that learning in an authentic way? There is a chart that we're going to click to, Tim, and it really talks about the shift from traditional teaching to inquiry teaching. And this is a shift that some of our teachers will talk about. It is a big change in teaching because it is a change from the teacher really determining the curriculum to a shared ownership where students are really asking questions. Students are really leading the learning, and the teacher becomes a coach and a supporter. The focus isn't so much on the teaching, it's what the kids are understanding in that coalesce stage. And so it really is more student-centered, more authentic learning. So there is a shift that we talk with our teachers about, that our teachers are making this transition in their teaching. And we'll go back. Thank you.
So you may be wondering, why are we making this shift in the way we teach and the way we're asking our students to learn at the elementary level? And our focus is to strengthen student learning and our teacher practice around that. Because again, we want our students to be changed by their learning and take action as a result. And we want to empower them as they learn how to learn to become effective and independent learners. So we're focusing more on the process of learning, or the inquiry process, and discovering connections between what we know and sharing it with the public. It's a big shift, not only for our teachers, but also for our students. And I'm in an interesting position that I am in a K-12 perspective, and I can see how it's playing out and connected to our project-based learning at the high school level and to how we're promoting the GLOs at all our levels. There's a wonderful connection here, and I feel like we're really preparing our students at the elementary level to be prepared to choose a question of interest, find the information sources that can answer that question, and use the information sources to come up with their own solution to a problem and then share it in a public format.
One of the reasons we started with integrated units of inquiry was in all practicality to help teachers manage the time and the demands on the limited time that they have with students. And so we were looking for ways to integrate science, social studies, and health with reading and writing and math eventually. when you think about it, life is integrated. There really isn't a problem that you can solve with the option of compartmentalizing the reading part of it and the writing and the math. What we're trying to do is prepare students to do that flexible thinking early on and to use that to their advantage. And I think that's what this does so well. It's integrating the standards, of course, it's integrating the research and the writing and the reading. And actually we're moving from thinking about reader's workshop, writer's workshop to researcher's workshop, which really encompasses all of those things. And the GLOs, as Nancy mentioned, gives it the depth that we're looking for, that they really encompass kind of a global perspective, and every issue, every topic has multiple perspectives to consider before you decide what to do.
One of the things that we talk about with our teachers is really talking about what stays the same and what changes. What will stay the same is we'll always have standards. What will change is we're going to look at those standards through the HSD 2025 lens. So really looking through our GLOs through that content lens. We'll keep our strong literacy practices that we have in our district, but the shift that's going to be is really that purposeful use and application of the reading and writing and researching, as Anne had spoke to. There'll be similar topics that we've heard in the past, and we'll share with you some of the topics that kids will be doing. But what they're going to be doing is they're going to be looking at topics more in depth and have that deeper understanding and take action with that. We will still use some of the existing resources, so you'll see some of the fast science kits in those units and other textbooks. But really what it's going to be a combination of some of the materials that we have, but using it purposefully to answer the student and the teacher questions that we have. We'll continue the collaborative planning. That's essential to work on these, but our schedules might become more flexible. You might be seeing in Reader's Workshop looking through and reading text that are on the topic of study that they're looking at.
Susie already mentioned this, but one of the thoughts I had in reading this again is we're really trying to create more teams like Chris de Leon's team, people that work together actively to solve a real-world challenge, and that's the vision of what our district is aiming for. I wanted to give Nancy credit for getting, I think it was a tweet you got that time, wasn't it? The meddler in the middle. We were telling the teachers at one of the trainings, it's no longer the sage on the stage, you're the guide on the side, and Nancy came back to the next training and said, it's really not the guy on the side either, it's the meddler in the middle. It's the one that's in the middle, grappling with the kids. So the collaboration in this slide, in my mind, is not just teachers collaborating, but teachers and students kind of grappling with it together. Every question raises another question. Where are we going to find the answers?
And I want to commend our teachers. Our 2nd and 5th grade teachers just wrote their units, and our 3rd and 4th grade teachers have written their units and implemented some of their units. And I want you to be thinking, when I talk about enduring understandings, what an enduring understanding is what we want all students to leave with, that understanding at the end of the unit, to be able to speak intelligently and take action about these enduring understandings. And if you think about these enduring understandings, as I share with you some of them, really be thinking about how HSD 2025 really becomes alive in these units. So it's not something extra that we're doing, it's really integrated in the content we're doing. So 2nd grade, they have 5 units, and what they have, one of the units is People Change the World. They have Choices Affect the Environment. You can see some of the environmental GLOs. Exploring balance and motion helps us understand how our bodies interact with energy. It's not just exploring how things balance and looking at stability. It's really, how does this impact my life? Living things grow and change, and learning about others affects how we interact in our world.
You can imagine the teachers were kind of glazed over it once in a while when we started working on these units, because it's so deep from what they were considering beforehand, with just give them the facts and then have them tell us back what they learned. But what we've noticed with the teachers over time is they're reporting too that it's really brain work, but it feels satisfying when they get there, when they're able to raise those questions. 3rd grade, you can read the units, but we're going to focus on a sample that's coming out of at Holton. The 3rd grade team focused on the history of Hudson, of course, but then to make it more real, each school actually chose a local project to kind of investigate further, and 3rd grade chose the St. Croix River crossing and invited in, I think, 11 different people that were involved in the St. Croix River crossing project, and asked questions, prepared questions ahead of time, and then each team of students asked questions about their view of the St. Croix River crossing project. And then they put together their perspective and then shared that by inviting those people back into the building to hear what they learned from them in their own way. And the next slide is a mini piece of one of theirs, a telegami that they put together to kind of share a little bit about what they learned from one of the speakers that came in to be interviewed.
Hello, and thank you for coming to our third grade presentation for the new bridge, and a big thanks to Brian Gullickson from the St. Croix board members.
One of the things that when we look at communities change over time, this is what matters to the kids that are up by Holton. Some of the other schools, I know at North Hudson, they looked at green space, how they can look for more green space in North Hudson. And at Hudson Prairie, I know we had a developer that talked about the rest area and what are all the thought processes that have to go into developing and looking at the changes that happen in Hudson. So it's really giving students a chance to look at their topic and put it in an authentic, in a real world place for them and to share their learning. You can see some of the other enduring understandings that they have for that. And I think I went too fast. We have, there we go. Fourth grade talks about decision making, immigration, how geography, instead of just learning about geography and the landforms, it's really how does geography influence my life? How does it impact economics, where people settle, those types of things. And then they also have one on talking about our choices with the environment as well.
At fifth grade, we actually got a little wiser and invited the specialists to join the effort of integration. So there's a Phy Ed teacher that's involved in the health unit, a counselor that's involved in the, can't remember, solving real world problems, conflict resolution, and then we have media specialists involved in all the units, 2 through 5. They've been really huge on helping us develop the resources and access to some of the district subscriptions that we already have in place. I think that's on to the...
And I want to again commend the teachers who have really embraced this, and you'll get to hear from the teachers as well, but what you can look forward to is those integrated units becoming a reality and implemented in grades 2 and 5, and we'll continue to improve those as we go.
I'm going to ask Lisa and Tim to step forward. I had given them a couple of questions to think about to share with you the teacher's perspective so that if you're asked in the community, you know, what's this I hear about integrated units of inquiry, you'll hear a teacher perspective as well.
Hi again. I'm going to speak a little bit about what are some of the benefits for the kids. Lisa and I have been working through this through the year, and we've been talking about doing things that the kids can apply their learning authentically. That they're engaged, they're motivated because their interests are driving their research. Just last week, though, a student made a comment to me that it just kind of brought everything into perspective. You know, we've been in the thick of it. When everything's this close, you don't see what's going on. But they handed in their final project for their health unit, and in years past, where we completed a unit, they answer the questions, they take the test, and they hand it in, and they want to know how they did. This student handed her final project in and said, I need this back. It was a persuasive essay encouraging somebody she cared about to stop smoking. And it was just, it's like, oh, okay. This is authentic. They care about what they're doing. And it's been really cool to see how motivated they are and how interested they are in choosing topics that they are interested in.
Okay. And some of the benefits that teachers have, I'm a huge believer that part of the success of a building is having strong teaching teams. And to give background to us, I taught at Prairie for 11 years and had 5 teaching partners, and then moved to Holton and got him. So the 6 years, that we
She's
worked.
just now starting to be able to laugh about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It's been tough.
The 6 years we've been together, I would say this shift in our instruction has really strengthened our collaboration more than anything. It allows us to meet together, think about where we're going, where we've been. We're very reflective, and I just think that that's a great benefit to teaching, is having good collaboration. The other thing is provides us a lot of opportunities to use our instructional coaches. Lori Bigging has been a huge help to us. Sometimes just coming in and watching, and meeting with us later and telling us what she saw. We also have gained a bigger respect, and we teach very differently. And so I see a strength in him, and he sees a strength in me, and we use that strength to better our students. So those are some of the benefits that we have for teaching. We would be remiss not to mention some of the struggles or challenges we've had. I'm going to talk about the student struggles. They really had a hard time not knowing where their learning path was going. It's like, what are you asking us to do? They are slowly gaining comfort with the unknown. You need to go find this out. You can do this on your own. Confidence is always, we have to tell them they are capable of doing this. And just a short story, Lori Bigging came in, and Tim and I do this as co-teachers, so we have our classes combined. Lori Bigging came in to watch us, and she noticed right away, I think a fault of ours is we would gather the kids together, and we would tell them our expectations, and then they would ask question after question after question. And she finally said, wait a minute, guys. She plops up this big Post-it note, writes parking lot on it, puts some little Post-its, and says, if you have a question, you have to put it in the parking lot. And Mr. Olson, Mrs. Wasson will get to it when they can. And I was thinking, wow, so then the kids got to work. The first day, it went really well. The second day, the third day, all the questions said, when can we get rid of the parking lot? So they're still a little unsure, but it's phenomenal. Some days we are on opposite sides of the room and we're thinking, oh, this is gonna bomb. And it's unbelievable how engaged they are. So.
The struggles that we have as teachers are traditionally we've been in the driver's seat, and we give out the information, the kids take notes or whatever, and they learn it. It's moving away from that, and now we're more facilitators. Like Ann said, we're kind of in the middle of it and guiding. And that's, for traditional instruction, it's a complete shift, and that's where I draw on Lisa's strength. She's much more over in that direction, so it's been terrific working with her. The other struggle that we have is assessing. So at the end of the unit, they all choose a medium in which they want to present or go public with their information. So you're getting all this sort of information, and to assess that is challenging because it all looks different, and they've all followed their own interests. So just a few struggles that we have, but we're working through them. And like I said, at the beginning of the year, it was quite a struggle, but now seeing the benefits that we've been going through, having, it's been great.
Anybody have questions on the board?
Just a comment that I just think this is tremendous. I think back to my educational experience. It's been give the information, learn it, remotely repeat it, or just give it back. And this is really a self-discovery thing that I think is phenomenal. I guess my question is, where do you see this going in terms of, I'm assuming that there's still this kind of this rote learning that is going to take place, but this is introducing it to enhance that or to support that, or is this going to revolutionize the entire way we educate in the future?
Sounds like an administration.
We hope it will. We do. I think where the rote fits is when it's like it's on a need-to-know basis. It's that when the kids realize, ooh, this is the question we're looking at, then I need to know this, and I need to know this. And then those mini lessons come in with some of those foundational things that we need to make sure they understand before they make the next step. So I do see it revolutionizing. I mean, Chris De Leon's group is a good example of taking it to the next level. And then I met with Lisa Watkins just recently about the project-based learning that she's doing at the high school. She's a member of the TLA team, and my question for her was, how do we intersect that? How do we help bring that all the way K-12? Because I feel like we're building a strong foundation in the elementary level, and we want to keep it alive and well through the middle and into the high school. So I do see it as a revolution. When you read all the literature in education, it's about student-owned learning.
Fascinating.
Anyone else? Well, again, kudos, I think, to the teachers, particularly for stepping outside the comfort zone and thinking outside the box. This is the future of learning. So thank you, everyone, for your efforts. Sandy, you have more reports for us?
Turn on my mic first. We're going to have Melissa come back up.
This one has some dollars attached to it.
This
huh?
one has some dollars attached to
Sorry,
it.
Tim, I know.
Yes.
You're probably.
I'll let Melissa do most of the talking, but it is to highlight a Blueprint for Prosperity grant that was recently awarded from the Department of Workforce Development. And so I did give you a handout right before the meeting started, as well as just a little summary as well on the slide. So Melissa, I know you were heavily involved in writing and collaborating.
Yes.
So let us know something about the grant, please.
I sure will. I invited Joanne Kutchik here this evening too, because she was part of the design team. Joanne, sorry. I knew you were motioning to me, I wasn't sure. Joanne and Liz Frank from Workforce Resource, we collaborated in writing this grant. So, and just taking a step back, the Wisconsin Fast Forward Blueprint for Prosperity comprehensive agenda of Governor Walker's set aside over $35 million for tax relief and for worker training in the state of Wisconsin. There were different waves of funding. Most recently, the high school pupil grant application came out at the end of March, and it was due like 3 weeks later. So it was truly a fast forward process. So the grant itself, or the pool of funds, was $1.5 million. There were 37 proposals submitted to the Department of Workforce Development that totaled over $3.5 million. 30 of those were awarded for totaling that $1.5 million. So we're very excited to be considered and be part of this process. The foundation of the funding is partnerships, and which all roads must lead to certification at the end for all of our students. So our Accelerating Youth Career Readiness Project does reflect partnerships with Workforce Resource, WITC out of New Richmond, 5 school districts, CISA 11, and the grant proposal was that we are going to work very fastidiously to train up to 80 youth in our area. On your sheet, you'll see that there are 5 schools listed there: Hudson, New Richmond, St. Croix Central, Baldwin Woodville, and River Falls. So 80 students within those school districts to receive certifications in multiple areas within different pathways. So we chose construction, hospitality, lodging, tourism, and healthcare. Within each of those pathways, students will have the opportunity to earn stackable credentialing. They have the opportunity for OSHA 10, first aid CPR training, employability skills training. Within our health science pathway, they will receive certified nursing assistant training. Within the hospitality, lodging, and tourism, they will receive Serve Safe training. And then within construction, that pathway will lead to adult apprenticeships, and that will kind of be the capstone for the others as well. So 4 to 5 stackable credentials. The timeline does pose a challenge for us. We have already started this process as the funding cycle ends already next June. So we're on a real challenging agenda. So we're very excited about the opportunity, and I think Joanne's going to add a couple of other items.
Yeah, it was a real cooperative effort, and one I told Melissa I wasn't sure we could accomplish in 3 weeks, but we really did. So we really pulled together. The main part of the grant, or the components of the grant, is that you do have to bring business commitments to the grant proposal. We were able to bring in 8 businesses in New Richmond, Baldwin, Hudson here, that gave us a letter of commitment that they would hire 33 of the students in youth apprenticeship programs. So that was a tremendous effort for us to do as well. We also have, like she said, the partners, workforce development, which I represent, will be doing some of the training as well. And you know, the big part of the grant too is we did have to target underserved populations, and workforce development has a youth council program, a youth program, and so that's our target audience too. So it only made sense that we would partner together with the Hudson School District on this grant proposal. So we wrote the grant for $149,000 and got funding for $109,000 of what we asked for. So it is a quick grant process. Plus, we have this short time frame to get it accomplished. So kudos to Melissa to really push us to be involved. So.
Questions?
Any questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for making that application and your quick work. Thank you. And Sandy, you're going to take us through on the very last time to be reporting on these WKCE results, correct?
Good lead-in, Mr. Johnson. Yes, this evening will be pretty much the last WKCE report as far as reading and mathematics. The WKCE test this past fall, students in grades 3 through 8 and 10 took the reading and math assessments, and then 4, 8, and 10 also have social studies and science. The social studies and science remain in place from this point forward because it is a state statute that there are assessments in those areas. We'll see in the future where they go. But other than that, next spring, we shift to the Smarter Balanced assessments. So here we go. So the first thing I just want to remind us, just now, this is our second year where the assessments have a new cut score. So where we used to have lots of scores up in the 90th percentile, many of them now are in the 40th or 50th. So just recognize the student learning hasn't changed, but the cut scores have changed, just a reminder. And the next slide then, I'm looking at my screen and not looking at you. I gotta stay focused here. All right, so this is an example then 2 years ago where we would see most of our scores when compared to the state, we're sitting at the 90th percentile levels for the most part. And now when we look at fall 2013 in the area of reading, Hudson versus the state, again, we're above the state in every grade level, but now we're performing more in that 50th percentile range. So it's, again, just to make sure that we recognize that our learning staying steady, it's just the way that we're looking at the scores. Same thing in mathematics. Again, we're looking at more in the 65th to 70th percentiles, but again, above the state in every category, or in every grade level, excuse me. As Mary mentioned earlier, for several years now, we bring in some comparison data with some of the high-performing schools in the district. These aren't always similar size, as we've started to do the last few years, but they are the highest performing. So we're looking again at Cedarburg, Elmbrook, Kettle Moraine, Mequon, Thiensville, and Whitefish Bay. So when we compare 8th grade reading results, you can see we're in the pack, but again, those high-performing schools, there's several of them that are quite high in the 60th percentile, and then the advanced category as well, comparing how we're doing in those two. So the advanced and proficient, so the proficient levels as well as advanced. Then if I take that same grade 8 reading and compare Hudson to high performing but similar size, so this is usually looking at your 10th grade classes and looking at class sizes of about 350 to 450. So that's what we're looking at as far as similar size. And you can see then when we're looking at 8th grade reading with a high-performing comparable size, Hudson is doing very well in both proficient and advanced category and the advanced only categories. Another comparison with math, again, the high-performing districts. Again, we're holding our own with our high-performing districts in both categories, proficient and advanced and the advanced only. And then the comparable size as well. One of the pieces now with some of the new reports that are available, and if some of you do go on the WISE- portal, public portal off the DPI page, there are some interesting graphs and charts that you can get right off the site. And this is one, if we take all the students who were tested in mathematics in the fall of 2013, this is the trajectory of taking all that data. And you can see then that 5 years ago we were averaging a 60.5 and now we're at a 66. Exactly what we're hoping to see, that kind of slight constant improvement going over time. We'll readily admit that we are a little concerned with our reading when we look at that same thing. It's just more that we're flatlined. There's no big change between 5 years ago and now with the 49.3 to 49. It's just sort of a flat data point. So our whole team here, Learning Support Services, along with Mary and the principals, are just digging into this data a little deeper. Again, it is one data point that we look at. So now this spring, we'll be looking at the measures of academic progress assessments, our local Fontes and Pinnell reading assessments, and just getting a better sense of what's going on with our reading scores. If we look again at just looking at focused on the reading, the next slide shows the comparable data between the last 2 years with the new cut scores. You can see in several grades some slight gains, but again our real focus right now is in grade 3. You know, is that an anomaly that they just dropped that down from 51 to 42, or is there something that we need to do to bring the focus back and really get reading and writing and literacy that focus again? But there's always like, wow, every time you slice and dice the data points. So even when our overall performance took a dip, we see within that data, we grew in the advanced category, nice improvement from 6% of our students in the advanced category to 11.1, as well as the number of students in the minimal, which is your lowest category, so you want that to go down. That is going down from 21.3 to 19. So there's some, again, we want to look at other data points now this spring and just really try to get an idea of, through multiple measures, what exactly is happening there. One of the pieces, as I mentioned, would be the map. I don't have, the window closes actually this Friday, so I can't pull this year's data, but just to look at last year's, you can see, again, it does give us that same message of, at least in grade 3, of just some flat data. So we want to keep looking at what we can do to ensure that students are growing over time in both reading and mathematics. So again, Learning Support Services, along with the principals, we've started our discussions looking again at how much time is allocated for reading. We had just a week and a half ago some training for KN1 on writing workshop again. So we're just looking at all the components that are associated with literacy, reading and writing, and what can we do to strengthen our program there and make sure that it impacts all the data points that we use in the district. The other areas then, as I mentioned, we are focusing on K-3 literacy, and then the other one would be Dave is really looking at the SMART goals as well. You've seen that over the last few years, the elementary have been focused on reading, with like 90% of our students reading at grade level by the end of the year. They've had a writing goal as well. And he'll be showing now in the next couple months how we're also going to look at some other indicators, kind of sub-goals underneath that, to ensure that all students are reaching areas in both reading and math. And then the other one is to really work with our new elementary curriculum specialist position, our curriculum TOSA position, to again help with maintenance of training with our staff, and then also align the work of the coaches. So those are 4 areas that we really want to focus on the next few months to really address primary reading especially. And I'll take questions if there are any.
Board members have any comments or questions on these results and next steps? All right, then I guess that means we're ready to move on the agenda. Thank you, Sandy, for your reports. And Tim or Diane, do we have any citizen requests to speak? No. All right. Then there's nothing for the board to respond to, so that means we move on to topics for action. And I guess turn it over to Andrea to give us the introduction regarding this item on open enrollment applications.
Okay, thank you. As you know, at your January 13th, 2014 board meeting, you approved a number of openings for purposes of open enrollment. Specifically, you approved 10 seats for kindergarten, 8 seats for first grade, 47 seats for third grade, and 10 seats for fourth grade. Pursuant to statute, the open enrollment period ended at the end of April, and as a result of that, you'll see on the sheet that we had 29 requests for open enrollments into the Hudson School District. Of those 29 requests, we're recommending 16 approvals. Specifically, there are 9 requests for kindergarten, and we recommend approval of all of those. As I previously stated, there are 10 open seats as determined at the January meeting. So all of those requests, we recommend approval. For first grade, there were 5 requests, 8 seats, but one of those requests was a student who is also in special education, and there are no openings in that particular area, so we recommend 4 of those first grade applicants to receive approval. For third grade, we had 2 requests, again, recommend both to be approved, and then fourth grade, 1 request of the 10 seats that were open. So again, 16 recommended approvals. The others, we do not recommend approval because you previously identified that there were no openings in those areas.
Okay, so we have the different data there regarding the various applications, but just to clarify, you're not recommending any applications in grades in which there are no open seats, correct?
Correct.
All right. So unless there's questions for Andrea, we'd entertain a motion consistent with the wording that was provided for, either approval or denial of the applications.
Mr. President, I move to approve the applications of student numbers 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 29 for open enrollment into the Hudson School District pursuant to board action taken on January 13th, 2014, which identified 2014-15 regular education enrollment space available in grades kindergarten, first grade, third grade, and fourth grade.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brian Bell. Okay, any discussion? Any further
Roll
questions?
call vote, please.
Mr. President, I have a question, or I just want Andrea to maybe cover what happens to the elementary students when they'll move on out of the 5th grade and into secondary.
They would have to reapply for purposes of entrance into the middle school and high school.
And was that the case for any of the students that applied for middle school now? Had they previously been enrolled in the Hudson School District and would not be accepted into middle school because we don't have space?
Yes, I believe so. There's 2 or 1 at least individual that did apply that would not be accepted, who's now entering into middle school.
I know that's always been a concern of the board, is if we allow them into the elementary space, would the board feel compelled to grandfather them into spaces where we don't have space? So, thank you.
Question?
Bruce.
So we had, forgive me, probably 84, 86, 88. I mean, it doubled. The number doubled for people going out, right, last year?
Last year, yeah, I don't recall the number offhand, but yeah, I know there was a significant number.
It was
going
over
out.
80. It was like double.
Yep.
So let's say we get over 100 this year. At what point in time are we going to consider expanding our open enrollment opportunities for the middle school or high school if we continue to have more and more students enrolling outside? Because again, this is lost revenue that we have. So, I think we need to strongly consider those numbers and what the trends are right now. And and then, of course, fix our capacity problem.
All right, let's say here are other questions, and I did hear Member Gerke ask for a roll call vote, but I did have a question. I think it just kind of follows Bruce's inquiry, and that is with, when we approved the number of seats back in January, my quick math here is 75 seats. So out of those 75, we had 29 applications, and the current motion before the board is to approve 16 out of 75 potential seats that were available.
Yes.
All right. That's all. I just wanted to clarify that. Anyone else have a question? Otherwise, we'll start with Mr. Hanson and roll call vote.
Hanson, aye.
Whitaker, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Robson, aye.
Bell, aye.
Gerke, no.
Holland, aye.
All right. Then motion number 1 passes, and now I'll entertain a motion for denial of specific application numbers.
Mr. President, I move to deny the applications of student numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 19, 21, 23, 25, and 27 for open enrollment into the Hudson School District pursuant to board action taken on January 13, 2014, which identified regular education space is not available in grades 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and special education space is not available at any grade level, early childhood through grade 12.
Is there a second?
Second.
Brian Bell seconds motion number 2 as well as motion number 1. Is there any further questions or points of discussion regarding the denial of the applications made in Member Robson's motion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
The motion passes. All right, with that, we move on to second agenda item, which would be school calendar revisions. And I know Dave wants to cover it very quickly because he wants to get out the door, right?
I'm not sure if that's for my benefit or the rest of the people here at the table, but yes, I will cover it quickly. Earlier this year at the Learning and Program Development Committee, we were asked to take a look at our calendars with the express purpose of seeing if we can move the end date back while keeping all the other elements of the calendar intact, such as 180 student contact days, maintaining a spring break, and a few other variables that we'll get into. With that, we formed a committee of teachers and specialists to take a look at 3 years of calendars and make some recommendations. The team did a fantastic job providing input. We had teachers from all 3 levels, and we had classroom teachers, special educators, counselors, and principals serve on the team to provide input. There were several variables that we considered as we moved forward, so I'm just going to list a few of the variables that were considered as we look to revise a proposed calendar. Vacation days or days off of instruction would be one of the most significant. The first day of school, graduation date, the placement of spring break, teacher, parent, student conference schedule, and our professional learning days. So we looked at those and made some adjustments on the proposed calendar. Just in review of some of the changes, on the 2014-15 calendar that you're looking at right now, this proposed calendar, you'll notice in the lower corner of each calendar, wherever that corner provided itself, we see the number of instructional days in each of those of the months, and we total those then again for 180 total days. On this 14-15 school calendar, the original approved calendar had an end date of June 11th, and with the adjustments that we made, we're able to move that back to June 5th. If we take a look at, if you can go forward to the next slide, please, to the 2015-16 calendar, this was a more significant adjustment, primarily because we were able to move the start date considerably earlier than it was on the previous calendar. So we're able to move the end date, last day of instruction, from June 15th to June 3rd. Now, having said that, that doesn't come without some level of sacrifice. You know, when you look at something as complex as a school calendar with all the variables, it's very difficult to make a calendar or create a calendar that satisfies every single interest that may be out there. But we wanted to take into consideration changes that would benefit the majority of our stakeholders. That includes our community members, parents, our students, and our teachers and staff. And you'll see the proposed calendar based on those recommendations and those ideas.
Okay, do we have any questions? Bruce?
President, I just want to say great job. I know it was a lot of work, and to get this additional time pushed back, I think really helps. And another point that was taken into consideration through all our discussions was, you know, neighboring schools and when they're getting out. And we were among one of the schools that was at the end or the latest. So the fact that you've been able to position this appropriately allows kids to get out for jobs earlier, and you know, still going through that trial period right now for the seniors this year as well, in terms of getting even an earlier graduation date. So great work, and thanks for stepping up to the challenge.
Thank you very much, and I'll definitely pass that gratitude on to the committee.
Anyone else?
Mr. President, I just have a question. I remember that we, some time back, as a board, had worked towards increasing the number of in-school days, and I don't remember what that number was. Maybe some from the administration can help me with that. But I noticed that we've got 192 total days on both these calendar years, and I'm wondering if that was are those in-school days, or are those actually total days?
Good question. Those are the total days. It's 180 days of instruction, and then to get to the 192, that includes the professional development days that are scheduled and the holidays as well. The previous, before we made the adjustment, it was 178 instructional days.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I think also a point of clarification too is that you'll note neither of these proposed calendars include an actual date of graduation, and that's because of this year's pilot program. We got to see how well that does before we say exactly when graduation would be, but it's something we would decide probably by the fall, correct?
Precisely.
All right. Anyone else have a question? Or I will entertain a motion to approve these proposed calendars.
Mr. President, move to approve the calendars as proposed.
Second.
Motion by Lynn and second by Bruce. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to reiterate, I think Bruce's comment about the work on this, because it took something that can be a real rat's nest, hornet's nest, whatever, and made it something that looks like, preserves the continuing education the teachers need and can use, as well as, optimizing those dates and not making that calendar year just a little bit shorter. So good job. Now we turn it over back to Andrea, I guess, on support staff handbook revisions.
Thank you. We're coming tonight with an administrative recommendation to modify the process for support staff handbook revisions. We are recommending maintaining the existing process, which for revisions to certified staff handbook, whereby the board approves or acts upon any suggested modifications to that certified staff handbook. What we're asking for tonight is a modification of the support staff handbook process, whereby the personnel committee would be the body responsible for approving the proposed changes to that handbook that administration may recommend. And then when considering any particular modification, the committee certainly would have the option of advancing that topic to the full board for action if it's a significant item. But acting on those that are less significant or ones that they feel would be more appropriate before them. This change in process keeps the board informed and involved, but it also streamlines the process. So that's what our recommendation is tonight. And it was previously considered by the Personnel Committee and approved by consensus there.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments? Maybe somebody that was on the Personnel Committee, but anything to add there?
Mr. President, I just
Yes.
have a question regarding the word significant. That, what would be significant? I mean, was there discussion around that or any kind of defining?
There was not. I think we would bring, again, any changes to the handbook, suggested changes to the handbook to the Personnel Committee, and then it would be up to them to decide on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Thank you.
So it'd be up to the members of the Personnel Committee to
Correct.
determine that. All right. Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this change in revisions to the support staff handbook.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve these changes to the handbook, the revisions.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Sandy to approve the new process for these handbook revisions, second by Bruce. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Now, we get to the fun time, I guess, to make my first appointment here, to appoint a delegate to the CESA number 11 annual convention. And want to return the favor that Tom bestowed on me to, as one of the newbies to this, and ask Carrie, are you available to attend on that June 2nd date?
Yes.
All right. And as Sandy pointed out to me, it's a great learning experience, and of course I went very positive because of her recommendation, and sure enough, it was a very fulfilling experience and a beautiful drive up to Turtle Lake, Wisconsin. So you are appointed. Congratulations. Oh, that we actually need a vote? Yes. Oh, okay.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve the delegate for the CSI number 11 annual convention as Carrie.
Second.
There's been motion and a second. Anyone want to talk further about this point? Okay.
No, sir.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, you're appointed. All right. Now that's official. Okay, so we move along to consent items, and before I entertain any motion to approve that, I want to point out to the board that in addition to those personnel changes in the consent portion of the diligent board book, we have a more complete list of the employee intakes that was handed out to each of you. And I would consider a motion then to approve the consent items as amended with these additions.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to move that the Director of Financial Services be authorized to pay bills in the amount of $2,230,604.18, as well as the consent agenda items with the addition of the employee intakes.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or discussion? I guess if you had a question about the additions, the amendment that we just made, that now would be the time to ask that. But hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, the motion passes. And we move along now to committee reports. Lynn, will you report on Finance Committee, please?
Yes, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on May 5th, 2014. The first item on the agenda was the bond refinancing. Brian Brewer from Baird recommended that the district take advantage of the continued low rate interest environment and presented a couple refinancing options that the board will consider when the bonds are available to call, which is on October 1st, 2014, or a date thereafter.
Yeah, Mr. Brewer will be attending the June board
The
meeting.
June board meeting. Okay, thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
And so this will be coming forward to the full board in the June meeting. But the savings we discussed in his initial presentation have a potential gross savings in the excess of $500,000. So look forward to seeing that presentation coming forward. Additionally, the committee also discussed open enrollment, which Andrea presented and the board took action on previously. And lastly, the committee received the 2013-14 budget update, which had no abnormalities to report.
All right.
And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Any questions for the Finance Committee? All right, thank you, Lynn. Moving now to Learning and Program Development, and let Brian report on what that committee met on.
Thank you. Met on May 5th, and all the topics we covered tonight in either action or discussion. So no additional comments.
All right, nice and brief. I like that.
Robust report.
I wish the committee meeting itself had been briefer, but that's all right. That's, now, on May 6th, we have the Facilities and Grounds Committee met, and that's me, all right? Now, turning to, I guess, do you have the?
I have the agenda.
I can remember that we went into closed session. That was at the end, though. And before we did that, we had update from the stormwater easement with the city of Hudson. There was consent to support, move that forward. So that was already approved in the consent agenda. We got a report of what we're going to do for this next coming school year on the short-term space plan and how much of the Hudson Prairie classrooms are going to be used. Essentially, it's one more classroom, and than what had been previously done for this current school year. And then Tim Erickson gave a report on the St. Croix River Crossing Economic Advisory Committee report. Sounds like a very large committee, and it sounds like it would be a mission to herd cats, but yet they're planning on getting all this work done in a very short period of time. Tim will be giving us another report on what is actually done, correct?
That's correct.
Very good. And summer projects, which was always an exhausting and exhaustive list from Jen Stasko, and that was informative, but we've got lots of work cut out, most of which is all already been budgeted, and hopefully will come in at budget or under budget. But there was, in fact, some savings that were carried over, and it's going to allow us to do some more things and get that done sooner in areas where needed. Correct, Tim?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Looking at several projects, and the goal is to come in on time and under budget.
All right, very good. So we have, and then we adjourned to closed session and discussed the items that were appropriate for closed session, and I think one of which we may be addressing when we get to that portion of the agenda for the whole school board. So personnel, Lynn, you're back up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Personnel Committee met on Tuesday, May 6th. The first item on the agenda was the safety and security staffing, and the board and the district feel that under the current environment, the district feels the need to have and to look at having and hiring an additional school resource officer, because the officer that we have has been primarily focused right now on the high school, and we feel that we still need a resource that's can be deployed to both the middle school and the elementary schools. That official approval would need to go through the Police and Fire Commission, but the committee had consensus to have the administration move that forward into talking with the city about adding that additional resource. Next on the agenda, we had support staff group meetings. Andrea updated the committee that approximately 10 meetings were held with good representation of the multiple support staff groups, and the committee supported an every other year structure with a rotation that would work best to facilitate and accommodate that need. Next was support staff handbook revisions, which we reviewed previously in the meeting. Additionally, we discussed personal leaves. Administration is finding a need to create more consistency around personal leave process, and the committee supported a change in the process where HR would approve unpaid leave and establish procedure. Do I have that right, Andrea? Is there anything I need to add about that one, or did I?
No, I think that's fine at this time.
And then lastly, we talked about contract addendums and changing paid leave. In particular, we discussed Good Friday, which will no longer be a paid holiday, and we'll look at adding a floater for certified staff and moving forward with this, and the board will take action on that at a later time. And that concludes my report.
Any questions then for personnel? All right, hearing none, then we move on to the final item, which would be adjourning to closed session, and would ask that the motion include the statutory language, please.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E, deliberating for negotiating the purchase or sale of property.
Okay, motion by Member Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Bell. Roll call vote. We'll start on that end this time. Mr. Holland.
Holland, aye.
Gerke, aye.
Bell, aye.
Robson, I.
Johnson, aye.
Whitaker, I.
Hanson, aye.
Very good. We are adjourned to closed session.